COVID-19 has been particularly hard on landlord-tenant relationships, especially in hard-hit areas like Prince George's County. No one wants to be in a position of not being able to pay rent, and most landlords are trying to strike a balance between compassion and needing to pay the bills. I'm fielding more and more calls from mom-and-pop style landlords who are thinking of selling their rental properties. This video is for them. Here's the gist of those calls. My tenant is not paying any rent. I haven't heard from him and I have no idea what's going on. Or this, I've been trying to reach my mortgage company for weeks. I have no rental income coming in and my bills are piling up. I'm worried about my credit. And then this last one, which encompasses the first two, but is probably the most common thing I'm hearing. I'm scared that when the stay-at-home orders are lifted, COVID-19 is going to come roaring back. We're going to be in exactly the same place we're in right now, and I don't think I can do this again. Does any of that sound familiar? Hi, I'm Susan Pruden. I'm with Century 21 New Millennium, and in my almost 30 years of selling homes, I've helped sellers and buyers through difficult markets before. This one is no exception. In this video, I'm going to cover three things. First is things that you landlords need to know. Second is a couple of possible solutions. And third is a little bit of advice that's going to help you when we get on the other side of this thing. So, what do you landlords need to know? In Maryland, you cannot evict a tenant for failure to pay rent. Governor Hogan has issued an emergency order that has directed Maryland courts to not order any evictions for any tenant who is unable to pay rent due to COVID-19. Examples include loss of employment, the need to care for school-aged children, or they've been diagnosed with COVID-19. On the federal level, the CARES Act may further restrict your options. If your tenant is getting government assistance through a program like Section 8, or if your mortgage on your rental property is through a government program like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, then you can't ask your tenant to move out until July 25. You must give a minimum of 30 days notice, which means that you can't put in an eviction until August 24. In the wings is the HERO Act. It has not yet been approved by Congress, but if it is, it looks like it will extend these protections for an additional 8 months. If you own your rental property outright, or the mortgage is not through a program like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and your tenant is not getting government assistance through programs like Section 8, then the CARES Act may not apply. By the way, did you landlords in Maryland know that you can no longer opt out of renting to a tenant who is getting government assistance through programs like Section 8. If you want more information on that, shoot me an email or drop a message down below in the comments and I'll send you the details. In any market, it's hard to sell a house with the tenant still living in it. Regardless of how wonderful and cooperative your tenants are, most are not going to consistently prioritize your financial well-being and any profits you might make over their own needs, their safety, and even their own convenience. And you know, your tenant's probably pretty comfortable where they are. It's their home after all, and they may not want to move. And it doesn't take much, even unintentionally, to sabotage our marketing efforts. And now, more than ever, the photos and videos had best show a sparkling clean and well-staged home, or you're going to need to price the home to reflect the way it looks in the pictures, not necessarily its actual condition. Because you sellers know this, right? Buyers are using the first picture to decide if they want to look at more pictures, and they're using the next couple of pictures to decide if your property is going into the favorite file or the discard pile. Your goal is not to sell the property from the photographs. Your goal is to get on the short list. You know that, right? A vacant home can accommodate in-person showings, and you have control over the way it looks, its staging, and its marketing. Buyers are already nervous about buying a home in an unsettled market without worrying about whether or not the tenant is going to move out. Buyers will not purchase a property with a holdover tenant who is already not paying rent and who may cost them thousands of dollars to evict once the stay-at-home orders are lifted. And of course, if they're buying the house to live in, they can't move in until the tenant has moved out anyway. Even if your tenant is planning to move out, they could become infected with COVID-19, or they may be quarantined because they've been around somebody else who's been affected and they can't move out prior to closing. These delays can kill a contract. Your buyer's financial and employment circumstances can change, interest rates can go up, and they may no longer qualify for the loan. We have definitely seen a number of transactions that have fallen apart because of COVID-19 related issues. We are still looking for clear-cut solutions to this problem. Some landlords are offering a cash incentive to tenants to get them to move out, and others still are crafting an agreement with their tenants that says that once the tenant moves out, the landlord will not pursue them for past due rent. However, if you're going to go with either of these routes, I suggest that you get an attorney to craft the agreement because there's a lot more moving pieces to this than just rent. What are you going to do about the security deposit? What if there's damage to the property? What kind of deadlines are you going to attach? What happens if the tenant doesn't do as agreed upon? There is no one-size-fits-all solution to this problem, but I hope I've given you some food for thought. I expect that courts are going to be overwhelmed with eviction requests once the moratorium is lifted. There's a website called evictionlab.org that has rated Maryland very poorly for the way they've done this because there is no graceful way out for landlords and tenants once this whole thing is over. My non-legal advice: keep a good paper trail. Write down any conversations you have with your tenant, regardless of how incidental, especially if they talk about why your tenant's not paying rent or any plans that your tenant may have to get caught up on past due rent once this thing is over. I recommend that you write an email summarizing your conversations, send it to your tenant immediately, and ask for them to acknowledge it. Keep track of how much is owed, and if your tenant has made any partial payments, be sure to issue receipts, even if they give you a check. Keep your lines of communication open. Even if you're frustrated and your mortgage company is not being helpful, shutting down communication with your tenant is not going to end well. Even with all the resources available to us, many of us are stressed, scared, and maybe feeling a little isolated. I'll do anything I can to help you, but if your needs are outside of my bailiwick, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. I'll leave you with the thought that your health is paramount, and as my company says, practice physical distancing while maintaining social relationships. That sounds like good advice to me. If you're thinking of selling your rental property, give me a call and let's discuss some strategies to sell in a COVID-19 marketplace. I welcome your comments, and please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Stay well, stay safe, and thanks for listening.